Well, hello and welcome to the CRM Zen Show, where we talk about all things Zoho. This is episode 383. I'm not throwing away my zero shot. Recorded for Friday, November 28th, 2025 from Zenatta Consulting. I'm Tyler Colt.
And I'm Greg Belnap, and let's get right on into the show.
Let us do it. Little Hamilton reference to get us in the holiday spirit here. Hope everybody had
I'm so full. Aren't you so full, Tyler?
Yes, definitely full from Thanksgiving, which was definitely yesterday and not tomorrow. So yeah, I'm full of turkey. Hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving. We definitely are going to. Busy week this week. We've got quite a lot of news to jump into. Zoho decided to cram just a bunch of it in. Before we do, though, a quick word from our sponsor, us.
Zenatta's biggest sale of the year starts November 24th. Get any individual team training course for just $500. Or unlock every course for only $1,000. But act fast. This Black Friday sale ends at midnight after Cyber Monday. One-time purchase, permanent access for your whole team. Visit zenatta.com/training.
All right. Busy week this week, like I mentioned. As always, not all the news made the show, so head over to zenatta.com/newsletter, sign up there to get everything. There were some ones that honestly are meaningful that just didn't make it for time, so make sure to check that out. Starting up here, a couple CRM stories. One for an update for Smart Prompt. So Smart Prompt is essentially one of their little LLM tools that they've rolled out. They rolled this one out a little while back, and this is kind of an update and reimagining of it. Big things here are being able to essentially get a quick bit of contextual assistance as you're working through a record. That can look like summarizing a record, right? So something like, hey, let me know all the various conversations that we've had with this person recently. Let me know a summary of like record details. What status are they in? What location, industry, etc. Give me a summary of all notes that have been left. And then give me things like around content generation, right? So drafting me an email, drafting me a note. Not sure how it would know what to leave as a note, but things like drafting an email, definitely very useful. This now also will pop up inside of writing templates. That's really nice. Again, I'm always a fan of give me something and then I'll adjust it. And this is definitely in line with that. And then support for a bunch of new models. So, of course, Zia, the native model that Zoho has rolled out, and ChatGPT have already been supported. New LLMs for the US are going to include Gemini, Claude, and Cohere. I've not ever heard of Cohere. And then for the China data center, we're going to have DeepSeek and Silicon Flow. So some unique kind of like regionally specific ones popping up as well. Really cool. I'm interested. I know Gemini is all the buzz now. It seems like everybody is slowly but surely kind of starting to prefer Gemini and Claude over GPT, which has been kind of like an interesting twist. I'm still a GPT user a lot of the times, mostly just because I have a lot of bots that have already taught them how I like to behave or how I want them to behave. So I've
sunk cost fallacy.
Yeah, to a degree. Well, it's also, if you go into like the Gemini like business tier account, there really isn't like a custom bots function. Part of me would like to move over because it would centralize subscriptions. We're already in Gmail, G Suite, for a lot of our services. But yeah, they don't have the same kind of business tools.
I wonder if a huge uptick in its popularity right now is just the release of like the Nano Banana image generator, because it is really, really good. And so I imagine that a lot of people are thinking, well, if the image generation is this good, obviously whatever it's running on must just be really good at all the other stuff too. So I imagine it's probably people using that as like a signal for, let's get in on Gemini on not quite the ground floor, but before it gets priced out overall.
Good suite of updates here. I mean, the real big one, honestly, for me is like drafting a quick email. That's a real time saver. And conversation summary. I could definitely imagine myself opening up a record before I get on a call with, a long-term client and just making sure I've got kind of that high level information. For me, realistically, I am going to go and check some of those emails and just make sure it understood them correctly. But a good place to start, without a doubt.
Yeah. Of course, always. I would be the one issue that I can see over time is a little bit of the dead internet thing, where if you are using Zia Smart Prompt all the time for helping draft your emails and drafting your notes, then also using the conversation summary to then read all of those emails and notes, and it's just you're making AI content for an AI to read later, and then it's going to make more content based on the previous content it's already made. So just like do your best to exercise your creative muscles and inject some of yourself into your workflow.
You still have agency. You still have agency.
Just so that it doesn't, become a Xerox of a Xerox of a Xerox of a Xerox, over time.
I mean, we see it with potential clients that use AI to generate like initial requirements and stuff like that. And you can always tell one that was just directly written by an AI versus one where the user definitely like worked with an AI, but you see a lot more of like stuff that a human would ask for that's kind of layered into it. So it will be interesting over time, just like you're saying, the decrease in the total percent of the written word that's written and not generated in some other way.
Everything will just eventually move towards a bland average.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting.
You just keep letting it.
To be a talking point for a different podcast, honestly, but the whole premise of as more stuff is generated by AI, what can AI learn on to improve? Is it just learning on stuff that it itself wrote? And then does it become even more like itself? Are we going to have even more M dashes as it learns from content that has a lot of them?
More M dashes, more emojis.
Yeah, I know. That's what we need. And more randomly bolded words. Next one up here, populating a record using Zia's ICR. This is intelligent character recognition. This is like on your iPhone. If you had a picture of a business card, you can kind of like click and hold and it will let you copy paste a phone number. It's like, hey, I know that's a phone number. I'm going to treat that as text that I can like extract from an image for you. This is Zia essentially being able to do that as part of its flow. So I'd imagine here this is like, hey, you've got something that's handwritten. Let's say I'm going to create a new patient record via some type of registration form, right? It's then extracting that data, gives you the opportunity to make sure that everything like mapped correctly, which is nice. So you still get that like, ability to audit it and make sure. The one thing I'll notice here that is kind of cool is like, it's taking something like A positive and converting to A plus or giving you that opportunity to do so. So like if you don't have a perfect match, it's like, hey, we found this as A positive, the word. Do you want to swap it over to A plus? You can do things like that as well. So if there is any like data formatting that you have to adjust, definitely possible to do. Really cool. Again, your mileage may vary, right? Like they're showing this as like a doctor wrote something down on like a patient, registration form. No doctor I've ever seen has handwriting that looks like this. So that'll really be like the the challenging part is just the variability that's going to come through. So make sure to check the output, but really cool in those scenarios where you do have something happening on paper that you want to transfer. I actually use this on my phone if I have a picture of something to grab, text out of it. So it is pretty useful.
Yeah, and for those curious about what does zero shot prompting mean in this context, it just means that you are able to use the ICR tool right away so compared to say creating an OCR in like Zoho Creator, you actually have to feed it, or like an email parser tool in the CRM, you have to feed it a bunch of sample inputs and then tell it what to look for on each of those. And then that creates the model, and then you can start feeding things into it. This one, you don't need to do all of that beforehand. You can just start extracting stuff right away.
Got it. Yeah, it's like, hey, I know that it can read it and infer, right? It's kind of like using the brain power that exists in AI rather than just strictly pattern recognition and like where on the location of the image, you're expecting something to pop up.
Yeah.
All right, next one up here, ZIA competitor alerts being made a little easier with ZIA suggestions. So competitors here, this is something you can actually set up inside of your system. So settings, general, company details, essentially to create a list of competitors. Then the idea here is if you know you have these competitors, you could be looking to see if their name pops up in like conversation or anything like that. Now, really what this is, as far as I can tell, is that this is ZIA suggesting competitors that you might want to keep an eye on, right? So not a lot of changes to the functionality itself. This image is dead on my side. I'm not sure if that's just me. Give it a quick refresh.
It's dead on mine too.
Okay, cool. So it's just a void space. But essentially, it's giving you the opportunity to just more easily grab these types of competitors so that you don't have to like manually type them in. Okay, sure. Cool use case. I mean, you're going to know who your competitors are, but I mean, maybe it'd be a good one to find new ones and add to the list over time. But we thought we'd include it just as kind of an interesting use case.
Yeah, or maybe someone who you thought was your friend, and then Zia's like, "Are you sure? Are you sure? You should probably take another look at them."
I go run this in the Zenatta one. It's Greg Belnap Consulting pops up. It's like, who is that? Who is that? All right, next one up here. Not done with CRM just yet. ZIA conversation summaries. So this is essentially a bit of a deeper look into what we had talked about earlier as part of this new like little ZIA tool. So here we can see like, hey, I'm running this conversation summary. On January 10th, we had a call. After the demo, we had to reschedule this thing, right? So it's just giving you, again, that quick summary into what all has gone on recently with that customer, pulling from those types of conversations. Really nice if you are in a space where you have like a lot of email back and forth and it's like, man, I don't want to click through these 20 emails to figure out the useful stuff. Again, I think like it makes sense this isn't there yet, but a future goal that I'd be really interested in with a lot of these baked in AI tools is the ability to teach it. I kind of want to teach it like what I think is important to come back in this summary, right? Just because, you don't want it to leave out something that you think is important just because it doesn't. So a little bit of like management of them will be useful over time, but as of right now, pretty good to just be able to pop this in and get an understanding. One thing I will highlight that is cool here, if you have call transcription enabled, which is supported via phone bridge for some phone providers, Z will actually look at that transcription text. So if you did have a lot of phone calls, this will be very useful, right? Because in an email, at least I can pull up the whole thread, Control F certain words, and maybe find stuff quickly. If it's a lot of phone calls, it's like, like that could be like 3-4 hours of meeting transcriptions, call transcriptions that I'm trying to look through. Very useful in that case. To be able to extract that type of info from very unstructured data.
Yeah. Just a couple of points I want to highlight with this one. First off, that it looks like the summarization will happen with up to 10 records of each of the different kinds of records you can have. So it'll look at the last 10 emails, the last 10 calls, the last 10 meetings, the last 10 notes, and summarize all that. So there's a possibility that if you've been having like a lot of conversations, if this is an older client of yours, maybe there's some older context that might not come through. So just be aware of that. One thing that something that just popped in my head, I don't know what the answer is. We'd have to try running some tests ourselves, but does ZIA in this case have access to emails that you don't have access to?
IMAP permissions? You're thinking like around the IMAP permissions side?
Yeah, and so could a user ask ZIA questions to know about content of an email that we were not supposed to be privy to? I would assume that it's only going to look at records that you have permissions for, but I don't know for sure. I assume it is, but Try this out. Try logging in with a user account and try
to find a 0 day, everybody. But yeah, the other part to me that's interesting, given that there's a limit of 10, let's say, emails that it can pull from, like you could have automated emails like checking in, following up, hey, quick reminder. Like, are those going to start consuming some of those 10, right? Like I'm thinking about like in one of our client accounts, like they might get some emails back and forth, but then they're also getting like task update emails that are automated notifications. They're also getting like, hey, we'd love for you to take our NPS. And like here at Zenatta, we're pretty aggressive about getting NPS. We really want the feedback. And so like they might have an email or two going on about NPSs or case studies and things like that, that like for me in the use case, I would want to use this. I wouldn't really care to know that they received an NPS email. It's like, yeah, I know they're all receiving them.
It does say in the how it works section of the help article that in regards to notes, it doesn't mention anything specific about emails, but in notes it says only conversation related notes are considered, preventing non-contextual or internal notes from cluttering the summary. Now,
what is a conversation?
Does that mean that? So I assume that means that it's looking at the content of the note and try to figure out, did somebody write this to like talk to another person, or did somebody just jot down their thoughts in here? But then it is the question of, does notes that it ignores count towards that list of 10 entries?
Yeah.
Which I assume that it does. I assume it just grabs 10 and then it might filter them all out if it thinks they're all non-relevant. Whether it also does that with the emails, who knows? But
yeah.
So an exciting tool. We'll see how it performs.
Absolutely. And then next one up here, last for the CRM section. I'm not going to go through all the stories here, but man, they put out a big old community digest for October. Probably took them the 26 days into November because, hey, there's 2 parts. This is really long. There have been a ton of product updates here. Again, the majority of these we have covered. We always like to highlight the digest really for the functions, Dev Corner, and Kaizen section. I really appreciate Zoho has just kept doing this Kaizen thing. They're on post 214. Yes. That's one of their series. Kaizen being connected to like the lean management Six Sigma concepts from Japan originally. Kaizen is continuous improvement, right? So the idea of constantly tweaking and adjusting and incrementally improving, your process or your system. So I really like these. They just keep cranking them out, and they're very detailed, very helpful. I do recommend if you are like a CRM admin for your company, like check those out because they're very topical too. So like they just rolled out the workflow APIs, and then they did a 2-part series in Kaizen about like, here's some of the ways you might use those. Very practical. Like we did this thing. Here's why you might care and how to use it. So we always like to shout this out. Good digest here. Very busy month in the world of Zoho CRM.
Yes. And fun at the end of the part 2 digest. They say that's a wrap for this fortnight's CRM Community Digest. So you get a nice fortnightly digest from the CRM team.
Hey,
verily, yay.
Love it. And now moving over into Zoho Desk, it's kind of a cool one. So this is more customization options for the Help Center using JavaScript. So this is one where it's one thing with Zoho Desk where something like a Zendesk has historically had an advantage. Now, a lot of people don't really care to customize the Help Center that much. They're like, look, I want to have a knowledge base and I want them to see their tickets. I'm really not trying to do anything crazy here. That's like the 95% of people that are using Help Center. But for that other 5%, you now have a lot more options to customize this using inline JavaScript functions to essentially get a lot more control over what shows and what happens in your Help Center. So pretty nice there. Again, for most people, you're going to go, yeah, dude, I like my Help Center as is. Don't need to do anything. But if you do want to add more interactive or dynamic elements, you now have that ability using JavaScript here. So Really cool. Big one here would be something like embedding Google Analytics into the Help Center to understand like the page traffic, what's getting interacted with, time on page, right? Like an use case of why that's valuable. Like, let's say I want to easily see like what are the articles that get the most view time that are more than 1 year old. It's like, all right, let's go and like clean that one up a bit. Let's improve it a bit because it's getting a lot of engagement. So really nice to be able to drop that in.
Yeah, and just a good way to gauge if your help center has been built in an intuitive way. Like, are people getting where they need to go quickly and easily, or do people have to hunt and peck around to find where they need to go, right? And then you can make adjustments as necessary.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, you could kind of define, like, this is getting a little more technical, but let's say you want to define, like, the engagement path, right? And you could kind of say, like, a successful path is one that lands on an article where they stay on that article for more than 30 seconds to 1 minute, right? Assuming that, like, I found the article and I'm reading it, right? But if you just saw, like, hit the site for 1 second, bounced around 3 or 4 articles for 1 second each, and then left the site, you'd consider that, like, an unsuccessful help center visit, right? They weren't able to find something that was worth stopping and pausing on. And you do have some analytics about page views natively inside of the Help Center, but not data about like pathing and real engagement data that something like Google Analytics would give you. So that's really, I think, the biggest plus, at least I would think for like the most amount of people, is being to embed something like analytics into your Help Center.
Agreed.
All right, last but not least, to finalize out the news, new integration for Zoho Sign and Zoho Projects. So essentially what you can do here is send out a document for e-signature directly inside of a task or an issue. I would assume you'd be able to like merge in some of that data. Maybe you need like a sign off for one of those tasks. Now, I hate to immediately ask for more here. But I will anyways. Really, I think this is more of a milestone thing. Like when I think about like getting sign off on something, it's generally milestone related, right? Because you're going to have like a bunch of little tasks associated to a milestone. Really what you want is like, for most, I'm thinking of like a big construction project. It's like, all right, we finished milestone 1. We get sign off from the client agreeing that milestone 1 is completed. Therefore, we can bill for milestone 1 and start milestone 2, right? Like that's kind of how I would think about this flowing. Now, you could always have a task at the end of milestone 1 that says milestone 1 sign off, and then you just run the sign integration.
That's the idea that they've got here.
I think that's how I would probably end up using this. But so really cool, a nice thing. Like for big projects, it's not rare to need sign off on stuff. So the integration as a whole completely makes sense. I just, in my head, this is a milestone functionality. Maybe I'm wrong. Let us know in the comments below if for you this makes sense in a task or in a milestone. I'm happy to be wrong on this one. And with that, I think we're ready to wrap out the news and head on over to club.zenatta.com and check out our code share of the week. And Freddie is impatient with me. He just hit that transition mid-sentence there. I appreciate it. We started a little late today, and Freddie's like, let's go. Let's go, everybody. Greg and I are talking about Stranger Things. So, code share this week. I love this one. This is like very useful, very much like plug and play. This is getting a Zoho project's user ID using the Zoho Desk agent user ID. So this is like, you've got issues passing off between these applications. You've got time logs that you want to connect in some way. Like these two apps speak a lot because you do the project and then you're doing like support work following the project, or you're mid-project, but you're taking issue reports through Desk and converting them to projects. Like these two tools work hand in hand. And really this is like, you want to integrate something, right? But you need to reference the same user in both tools. This is kind of how structurally you can do that.
Yeah, so what Eddie uses here is the ZUID, which is your Zoho user ID. That's if you click on your little profile picture on any of the Zoho apps, and it'll usually have a little ZUID there of it's like a 6 or 7 digit number. And that's, if you just go to Zoho, accounts.zoho.com, that's your ID across the entire Zoho ecosystem. Every application that you're a part of, you have also a user ID associated with that particular application. So what Eduardo is doing here is he's getting first the user in desk. You could also just do this in reverse and get the user in projects if you were trying to link it from that way as well. But he's getting the desk user, and then from that, he's also getting the list of all the Zoho projects users. And now he's checking, does the ZUID number in the desk map match the ZUID in the projects map? And so now he can create a final reference map of, well, in this case, he's just looking for one user. You could also, if you were having to do a lot of work at once, you could just get a list of all the users from both applications and create your own reference map where if I put it in a desk ID, I'm going to get on a projects ID, or vice versa. So yeah, just a way to utilize a common piece of information in both systems. Also, as a side note here, you can use this same principle here in other applications as well that maybe don't use the ZUID, but maybe show your employees' work email. You could also do that a lot of the time. So yeah, whether it's connecting books and CRM, desk and projects, people and bookings, right? You can, the trick is to get your user map, get the list of all the users from the other application, and just check if there's a common unique identifier between them. Usually it'll be either their email or the ZUID.
Got it. Yeah, and the nice thing here too is email is very good, right? It's totally fair play to match things on email, but email does change. People get married, people get divorced, people change their first name. It happens. And so whenever you can use an ID, you should, as a general rule of thumb. And so I think this is really clever. I like this code share a lot. And again, this is one of those ones that just go ahead and copy paste this, right? This is plug and play to run inside a desk. The only thing you need to adjust is here, technically, we're getting the desk user that created a certain time log. So really the only thing you might have to swap is if you're watching us on YouTube, this part right here to feed in. Maybe you want the ticket owner ID, right? So you would just get from that instead. But otherwise, this is plug and play. You can just do this, and it will work as a component of the script that you need. Good opportunity for a standalone, right? Where you can just kind of send it an ID, you get one back, you move on with your life, and assign things as needed.
Also, good point that you brought up with the why you want to use an ID over an email. Even inside of our company, Zenatta. So our for those who interact with us, our email addresses follow a certain structure using our names, and we have had employees that have left, and then a new employee that ends up following the same naming structure comes in. So sometimes the same email will get used by a new person.
Yeah.
So that's also a common thing, There's a lot of J. Smiths out there.
Yes, there are. Yes, there are. Well, it's always you never think about you think things are really unlikely, but with large groups they become likely. What's that classic thing of in a room of 30 people, it's pretty likely two of them have the same birthday? Isn't there some brain teaser thing around that? It's
there's it's a 90% chance that two people have the same birthday in a room
50 people or something. There's some cutover, but we always try to think about that. We talk about that with clients where it's we'll be oh, well, let's match our contacts on full name. How likely is it that there's two of the same? It's pretty likely. You got a list of 10,000 people. You might have two John Smiths in there. Wouldn't be a surprise, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you don't, but you might later. So you always want to build these things in the most unique way possible, such that you just minimize the risk down the line. With that, this code share and all others live over at club.zenatta.com. That is just our totally free community for Zoho nerds to help Zoho nerds. It's where the code share goes, all the news, even the stories that don't make the cut for the show, as well as our Q&A section that we often feature on this very podcast. So with that, let's jump over to Zenatta.com and check out what's new on the website. All right, another case study. We just keep going. This is from JEM Designs. They build out cabinets and countertops. Very custom stuff. Very, very custom, high quality stuff that they're making. Essentially, the big build out here was around Creator and CRM. So a big thing here was client portals. One of the things that you'll find with a lot of companies like this that are like really like high quality, not quite, I wouldn't say manufacturing. They're like artisanal products that get used in big build outs, right? And so like you want a full remodel of a home, a really nice big home. Well, you don't hire JEM Designs, you hire some type of contractor. And then the contractor gets bids from a bunch of people, including JEM Designs. And then they kind of like put it all together and you sign that and then the work starts. And so basically, the portal here has different types of people that might need to go in. Sometimes a homeowner might just hire them to do a very specific single job. A lot of it is some type of subcontractor or general contractor. And so the portal kind of needs to work a little differently for these different types of users. Built out QR codes so that you can connect showroom displays to product pages. Really cool. And then, you know, prospect management, of course, your kind of standard CRM lead to deal flow. So yeah, big build out here. One that we worked on primarily with Danny over there, their CEO. Great team to work with, really high quality product and a really cool build. So yeah, make sure to check that out over on the case studies page. We've got a whole boatload of these. So always a good place to start if you're thinking about a Zoho build and want to see if something similar has been done before. One of the next things we're going to do on this page is actually make it a little easier to find stuff, maybe some filters or kind of categories in here on industry and type of work, just because we've got a lot of them at this point, and it's quite a scroll and quite a search. So expect that to get some updates here.
A lot of people in a lot of different industries.
Yeah, and a lot of different builds. I mean, you'll have two people that do very similar work, but on one of them, it was a full CRM thing. And on the other, they're like, hey, our CRM's awesome. We need help in desk and projects, right? And so you'll find different types of information in each of these, but well worth taking a look. All right. And so with that, I think we are ready to wrap up here for the week. Really hope everybody, again, had a phenomenal Turkey Day. I'm looking forward to having mine tomorrow, but you had yours yesterday. So that is a little look behind the curtain here. No, we're not recording this on Thanksgiving. So as always, really hope that you enjoyed the show. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to get in touch with us over here at Zenatta, just head on over to zenatta.com and click on Book a Meeting. On the website is also where you'll find complete episodes of the show, as well as links to all the stories we discussed today.
And if you want clean code for free, go to Club Z. Club.zenatta.com is your one-stop shop for our code shares, as well as upcoming events around both Zoho and Zenatta. And if you want your team trained up in the core Zoho apps in less than a week, head over to zenatta.com/training while the Black Friday deal's still going on, and get your team trained up today.
And as always, we appreciate when you like and subscribe here on YouTube, as well as your choice of podcast app. We will see you next Friday.
Gobble, gobble, gobble. Gobble, gobble, gobble. There was so much news. It was really it was a cranberry week.
Whoa,
they cranberried so much news in there.
Bad. That's just terrible.
Oh, they were stuffing the news this week.
There, that's better. That's better.